Tonight, a solemn anniversary. The COVID-19 pandemic's devastating toll, 118 million cases and 2.6 million dead across the globe.
The good news?
There's real reason for hope, folks.
More vaccines on the way. This as the rate of children crossing the border alone skyrockets.
We have to do what we do regardless of what anybody calls the situation.
The number of children and families making the perilous journey up by 100%. And
90% of all public campuses have policies that are constitutionally suspect.
Free speech on campus, the Supreme Court ruling, and what it means for students.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Life 1 year after COVID. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Thanks for joining us. Well, a major milestone tonight. It was 1 year ago the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic, triggering a global lockdown.
And whatever you or I deem normal feels like a lifetime ago. But hope is on the horizon with news that more than 1 in 4 adults in the country now have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson brings us the latest on the year-long fight against the coronavirus. Abby.
That's right, John. Well, the U.S. has purchased 100 million doses of the single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which should help President Biden deliver on his promise to have enough vaccines for every American adult by the end of May.
I'm doing this because in this wartime efforts, we need maximum flexibility. There's always a chance that we'll encounter unexpected challenges.
States rationing their vaccine supplies for months have been told to prepare for a supply surge come April.
On January 20th, there was a 7-day average of 890,000 shots per day. Today, we're averaging 2.17 million shots per day.
Alaska becoming the first state to offer vaccines to anyone over 16.
We figured we'd have to wait until at least May before we were eligible for a vaccine. So hearing that suddenly changed, it was very exciting.
On Wednesday, Texas joined a growing number of states lifting mask mandates, and they're also reopening businesses to 100% capacity.
Yeah, I think it's quite a bit early. I think there's a lot of people still catching the virus, a lot of deaths coming from the virus.
With businesses now in control of mask policies, this gym in Katy, Texas, incorporated mask-free and mask-required zones to put everyone at ease.
But I'm excited to be able to work out and be able to breathe without a mask.
On Thursday, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan to send a new round of relief to the American people.
And I believe this is, and most people I think do as well, this historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. That's what the essence of it is.
The nearly $2 trillion bill passed with no GOP support in the House or Senate, leading to a rare rebuke from the new House chaplain.
Forgive them, all of them, for when called upon to respond to a once-in-a-century pandemic that has rocked our country, upended its economy, and widened the chasm of partisan opinion, they have missed the opportunity to step above the fray and unite to attend to this national crisis.
And tonight, President Biden will give his first address to the nation as president 50 days into his time in office, and he plans to talk about the next phase of COVID response and what he expects the American people to do as we ease back into normal life. John, Jenna?
And here with us now is Dr. David Feigenbaum, the director of the Corona Project at the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Feigenbaum, it's good to have you with us this evening. Today we are officially 1 year into this pandemic. It's hard to believe. You know, when you think about this time last year, what were your expectations?
I think, like so many people, we hoped that this would not be what it's become. I think I anticipated that it might be a few weeks of inconvenience, but certainly not the pandemic that it's become. At the same time, I envisioned when I first heard about this pandemic and hoped that there would be drugs out there that could be helpful for COVID. And thankfully, that's been the case.
Your book, Chasing My Cure, documents your personal journey of perseverance against Castleman's disease. Do you have any tips for all of us to continue to push forward during these challenging times?
Sure. I wish that my experiences from my journey chasing my cure and nearly dying 5 times weren't so relevant right now and weren't the kinds of things that so many other people have gone through over the last year. But I think the lessons that I would share today, the first is that as we're going through tough times like this, we have to reflect on what we're hoping for and what we're praying for. What is it that we hope for in the future? Second, we have to ask ourselves, what can we do today to get closer to the thing that we're hoping and praying for the future? The third, it's making sure you have a great team, your support system around you during really tough times. At least for me, my family, my friends have been so helpful for me during my toughest times. And what I found, maybe the fourth thing I would say, is to be able to laugh with the people you love. For me, that's helped me get through some really, really tough times.
Yeah, great advice. Your team, kind of circling back with coronavirus, your team at the Castleman Disease Collaborative Network has actually been working on identifying drugs used to fight Castleman's disease that could also be used to fight the most severe cases of COVID-19. Where are you in that process, Doctor?
Sure. So exactly a year ago, we set out on this project, the Corona Project, to get all of the data from around the world on what drugs were being used and what looked promising and what looked less promising. Thankfully, today, there are a number of drugs that have been shown to be highly effective. A drug like dexamethasone costs $1 a day, is a lifesaver for patients in ICU. A drug called tocilizumab, developed for Castleman disease over 30 years ago, another lifesaver for patients in the ICU. So we're continuing to push forward this idea of drug repurposing, taking a drug developed for one thing and reusing it in a new way, and working really closely with both the NIH and the FDA to make sure that the most promising drugs move forward to large trials and we get them to patients as quickly as possible.
Yes, the sooner the better, for sure. How do you think the world will look, in terms of the pandemic, say 1 year from now? Do you think things will be back to normal?
I think so, and of course, I certainly hope so. The last year has been so difficult in so many ways. There seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel with vaccines and continued improvements in therapeutics. So I do believe that within 1 year we can be back to normal. I think there'll probably be things that we will all take with us, lessons from this really tough experience over this last year. I imagine some things will stick with us, but I just hope so badly that we can get back to the way things were before this pandemic. And as I said earlier, if you're going to hope for something, if you're going to pray for something, let's do something about it. So we'll keep doing what we can to make sure that that becomes a reality.
All right, Dr. David Feigenbaum, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Turning now to the George Floyd murder trial, the Minneapolis police officer accused of killing George Floyd on video now faces a third-degree murder charge. The judge in the case against Derek Chauvin today reinstated the charge after denying an appeal from his defense team.
When intent is directed at a single person, this is a legal principle that they have established now as precedent, then third degree may apply. Single acts directed at a single person fall within the gambit of murder in the third degree.
Jury selection in the case is expected to go on for another week or more. The video shows Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. He's also charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. The former cop has pleaded not guilty.
Well, the crisis at the border continues to worsen as hundreds, sometimes thousands, of migrants flood into the U.S. daily, including many children traveling alone.
And Jenna, as the system grows increasingly overwhelmed, critics are sounding the alarm about more than illegal entries. CBN senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener joins us now to explain. Tara?
John and Jenna, officials blame Biden administration policies for why more migrants are coming across the border now. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tweeting today, the situation is a full-on crisis and national security concern.
Just last month alone, 100,000 migrants were encountered attempting to illegally cross our border. The number of migrants who have tested positive for coronavirus after being released by the Border Patrol in Texas has nearly doubled.
Migrants once held in border camps while waiting for processing are no longer detained because of the Biden administration abandoning Trump-era immigration policy. Republican House lawmakers calling on President Biden to fix what they call a self-made border crisis.
President Biden's border crisis has got to get reversed. If you look at where we are right now, you have thousands of people crossing illegally into the United States every single day. Those border states are getting overrun. It's a drain on their resources. There's super spreader caravans coming across.
As the numbers of illegal entries climb, the GOP requesting to meet with the president to brainstorm ideas, but say the White House is mum.
As of today, he still has not answered our letter to attempt to meet.
As Republicans hammer the administration over the fallout, the press secretary again characterizing it as a challenge, not a crisis.
Our focus here is on getting to the root of the issues, and taking actions, and we don't feel the need to, play games with what it's called.
Start the Central American Minors Program, which was ended by President Trump, which provides some migrants with a legal way into the country. John and Jenna.
All right, Tara Mergener, thank you very much, Tara. And here with us now, CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, the White House refusing to call this a border crisis. Why is that?
Well, it's semantics at this point. Clearly, they don't want the word crisis involved in any of this, but that's what it is. But the other day, you're right. The White House took pains to say that let's not get stuck into what we call this. That it's just a word. Let's not worry about crisis, this or that. In other words, what they are saying, the White House is saying, is that the actions that this administration takes would be the same whether you call it a crisis or you don't call it a crisis. But guess what? It's a crisis. And why is it? Look, as you saw in Tara's piece, it's very, very simple here. The Biden administration decided to go lax on immigration laws. Folks in countries of El Salvador and Honduras and Guatemala realized that. Oh, by the way, they stopped construction on building a border wall fence. I mean, come on, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out it's a come on in message by the Biden administration.
The nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill is President Biden's first legislative win that comes in nearly halfway through his first 100 days in office. David, it passed without any Republican support. Are there other legislative issues where we might see Republicans and Democrats unite?
Possibly, maybe infrastructure. That's something that former President Trump wanted to do. So we'll see about that. But I think what's interesting here, John and Jenna, is to watch out as it relates to what Democrats might do on that 60-vote threshold filibuster. We've been hearing a lot about that. There's been talk about some Democrats want to eliminate it. We know that the Senate Rules Committee Chairman, Amy Klobuchar, has talked openly about abolishing the legislative filibuster. That is something to watch out for as we move forward, whether or not unity will exist in D.C. It doesn't exist now, and I don't expect it to exist anytime soon.
Yeah, it does seem like so much hinges on that filibuster staying in place. David, today the House renewed a push for expanded background checks. There were some Republican supporters in the House on that bill today. What happens when this bill hits the Senate?
It dies. Literally, it will not go anywhere. There's no way you're going to be able to get 10 Republican votes, Senate votes, to get this bill passed in the Senate. Remember, we're back to the filibuster, right? So you need 60 votes to pass legislation in the United States Senate. They're going to have 50 Democrats in the Senate, but they're not going to get 10 Republicans. And this time, unlike the COVID-19 economic relief bill that was just signed by President Biden, there's no way they're going to be able to do this on budget reconciliation when it comes to these gun laws. So on budget reconciliation, you only need 50 votes. Here, you'll need 60. They won't be able to get that.
A little less than a minute left, David. Javier Becerra's nomination to be the top government health official is now headed for a full Senate vote after it deadlocked in committee along party lines. David, two-parter question. Will it get confirmed? And secondly, will he get any Republican support?
Yes and yes. He's going to get confirmed, and he'll get Republican support. As a matter of fact, we already know that Susan Collins, Republican from Maine, is going to support his nomination. She did so today as it relates to moving the vote forward for a final vote. And so, yeah, he'll get at least one Republican. What's interesting is Joe Manchin, who calls himself a pro-life Democrat, is going to vote for Javier Becerra as well, and he's going to get a lot of flack from the pro-life Democrat community. It's a small one, but he'll get flack.
Yeah.
All right. CBN's David Brody, thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up, what this week's big Supreme Court ruling means for students on campus and free speech.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. The reverberations of a Supreme Court ruling earlier this week are still being felt. It sent a strong message to colleges and universities in a free speech case involving a student threatened with arrest for talking about his Christian faith.
The court ruled 8-1, saying that's unconstitutional. Paul Strand spoke with the woman who argued the case and who believes the ruling could have a big impact nationwide.
Chike Uze-Bunam sued Georgia Gwinnett College because he didn't want others to experience their freedom of speech taken away. The lawyer representing him before the Supreme Court says this squelching of constitutional rights is a huge problem at colleges.
90% of all public campuses have policies that are constitutionally suspect.
In the age of censorship and cancel culture, Kristen Wagner says the court's rare 8-1 ruling is a serious sign that justices stand for all Americans being able to express themselves freely.
The court is determined to protect those rights. Now is not the time to give the government officials more power when they're intent on using that power to crush those who would express a view different than their own and who are promoting cancel culture right now.
And is Wagner worried cancel culture will rule the day? She says not when there are people like Chike willing to fight back.
I am not frightened at all. I'm hopeful. Again, I believe that the Lord has put all of us here for the season He chose that we would live in America at this time, and we all have the responsibility to stand and protect freedom.
She points out Alliance Defending Freedom fought Chike's winning case for free because it will have nationwide impact and give courage to others.
It was a win for all Americans. We need to exercise our right to be able to speak freely and to essentially stop this bullying that's occurring, where the government is encouraging us to all speak the same message and not engage in independent thought. That's not only un-American, but it's unconstitutional.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
When we come back, concerns with the Biden administration's overtures toward Iran and what that could mean for Israel. We explain next on Faith Nation.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world-class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Tonight, concerns for some over the Biden administration's relationship with Iran. A lot remains to be seen.
Former Trump White House envoy to the Middle East, Jason Greenblatt, spoke with CBN's David Brody to offer his take.
Now, with our special guest, Jason Greenblatt, the former White House envoy to the Middle East. Jason, great to have you on the show. Honored that you're here, sir. Jason, give me kind of a 30,000-foot view of what you've seen so far from the Biden administration as it relates to kind of those dealings with the Middle East, or maybe lack thereof. I know there's some concern that that's not necessarily what their focus is right now. What's your sense of what's going on?
On Iran, we're getting a lot of mixed messaging out of them. You know, on the one hand, they're saying they're not going to remove the sanctions until they see some movement out of Iran. But some movement out of Iran, what does that mean? I mean, we can't continue to have ostrich diplomacy. The Iranian regime is an enemy of the United States. They're an enemy of our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel. And they're an enemy of all of our allies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others. And we can't pretend that this regime is really interested in acting like a normal nation. With respect to Saudi Arabia, I mean, it's really distressing to me to see how they're treating Saudi Arabia. The strength, security, and stability of Saudi Arabia is important, number one, because they're an important ally of ours, and the people in Saudi Arabia deserve to be treated with respect. But their stability is really important to all of our allies in the region. And the fact that they are treating them with such disrespect and disregard the attacks on Saudi Arabia from the Iran-funded Houthi terrorists, not militia, terrorists, let's call them what they are. The removal of the terrorist designation was a big mistake. And they have to stand by Saudi Arabia, not just in words. They have to mean what they say and not just use the sort of weak words that are coming out of the State Department about how they support Saudi Arabia. But what does that mean? Let's see some action. Let's see them support Saudi Arabia in words and anything Saudi Arabia needs to keep its society and its civilians and its oil infrastructure and everything else safe is what should be happening right now and what the Biden administration should focus on right now.
Jason, everything is so linked in the Middle East. Why do you think they've been kind of passive on Saudi Arabia? Or when I say passive, you know, they really haven't done what they need to do in terms of shoring up some of that relationship. Does that have to do with Iran, clearly, or is it more than that?
I think it's more than that. Certainly it has to do with Iran. I think they think that if they can show how they're not quite standing by Saudi Arabia, who is obviously no friend of Iran, maybe that scores some points with Iran. I think that's a mistake. I think you have to treat Iran by showing them strength, not weakness, and not by ignoring or pushing aside our allies like Saudi Arabia. But I think President Biden made it clear during the campaign that he wants to make Saudi Arabia the pariah that it is, I think was his quote, something like that. That's a very, very mistaken outlook. And I hope that those around him and he come to their senses and recognize that treating Saudi Arabia, other than with great respect for the powerful and important nation that it is only going to lead to problems in the Middle East, and it is not going to lead to a proper, thorough, and appropriate deal with the regime in Iran.
I want to circle back to something you said on that first answer about, I think you used the word ostrich diplomacy as it relates to Iran. I can kind of decipher what you meant by that, but I'd be curious, especially our viewers, what did you mean specifically by ostrich diplomacy? How would you define that, and what does it mean in the context of Iran and the United States?
So the situation with the terrorist Houthis in Yemen attacking Saudi Arabia with drones and missiles is no different than the Iran-funded terrorists Hamas in Gaza, who are raining rockets down on Israel from time to time. Not me, right? But the Biden administration is pretending that these terrorists don't exist, that they're not terrorists, that they're not attacking our friends and allies, that they're not Iran-funded. They have to recognize them for what they are and realize that we have to allow our friends and allies to defend themselves and to stand up to terrorism and call it out for what it is. Instead, what they're doing is sort of...
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Finally tonight, family reunion. After a year of going without getting or giving any kind of hug, one grandmother, mother, and daughter have been reunited by prescription.
Evelyn Shaw was cleared to hug her granddaughter 2 weeks after her COVID vaccine. Evelyn lived alone since her husband died 18 years ago. After the pandemic, her family had only been able to visit at a distance because she was afraid of human contact, even though her grandkids had been vaccinated. But one of them came up with the perfect prescription, getting a doctor to write a permission slip to allow Evelyn and her grandkids to hug each other once again without any fear. And that is just a tearjerker right there, Jenna.
Yeah, it is. They're prescribing hugs these days.
I love it.
That's my kind of prescription.
We're getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great night.